You're listening to Chunktober from Two Chunks and Hunk. Razor claws and gnashing teeth, eyes that burn with hell's heat, climbing to the world above to drink their fill of human blood. Listener, make your final stand, for the hour of monsters is at hand. You can't hide and you can't flee. The creatures of Chunktober III.
Hello and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your chunk.
I'm Doge, and tell my son the time his father died. Tell him. No, he won't even know your chunk.
Cold.
Is that cold? That is the hypest I've ever been in any movie ever.
Ice
my
in
God.
her veins, dude.
She was like, "Y tu mama también."
Yeah, dude. Which is another movie she's in, which is very funny.
That's very funny. I'm Carter, and in concillas nosotros fatum nostros hunk. That's in our choices lie our fate.
What a line, first of all.
It's pretty good.
What a line.
Great.
First of all. Carter, tell us about it.
One of my very
Dime
favorite
por qué.
students that I have had in my graduate program that I direct, the Master's in Communication, is
Brag.
Paulo Tort. He's from Mexico City. And actually this very week I was meeting with Paulo. And Paulo is 6'6", but kind of leans down to like 6'3" to maybe try and make him feel more approachable, as if he needs to.
Sure.
The kindest, warmest man. I think he's in his 50s, but I knew early he's had a career, and now he's pursuing a comm degree in the States. But he was the chief of staff for the mayor of Mexico City.
Oh, casual.
He worked in Spanish television in a very high role there. And then he starts to share things with me as he's showing me his resume and looking for a job. I hope that he can be a professor someday. I think he'd be perfect at it. But he shows me, he's played the cello for 10 years.
Jeez.
I'm like, okay, dude,
Yeah.
what is all this?
Yeah,
but then I
whatever.
see up here in programas adicionales, which is just like the extra stuff on his resume. The
Carter?
extra stuff.
Speak Spanish more.
Have I ever told you, I used to just speak the only things I remembered from Spanish class because my roommates knew it fluently. So they'd be talking in Spanish and I'd be like, pásame la sal y la pendiente. And it's just like, mi alfombra es azul. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
You got the right vocal cords for that, man. It sounds good.
I appreciate that. I look at one of these bulleted points and I say, Paulo, what is this? And I read, blessed by Pope Benedict XVI. What? For bringing religious freedoms to the people of Mexico. And I said, did you do this? And he said, yeah. And Paulo, tell me about this.
Tell me about being blessed by the Pope, Paulo.
He just kind of shrugs and he says, I'm a Lord of the Vatican. And I said, pardon? My friend Paulo, my student, is a Lord of the Vatican. He started to tell me about this, like,
what?
They still have this ancient way of blessing you. It's basically like being knighted in England. He was blessed by the Pope and now he's a Lord of the Vatican. And it says on his official documentation, which is from ancient times, that if he likes, he could ride his horse to St. Peter's Basilica. Just straight up to it for blessings.
What?
Dude.
So,
Does a steel horse count? Like Bon Jovi?
Is he wanted?
Could he roll up on a Harley?
yeah.
That's what I want to know.
But
What are the
it felt hunky. I know a Lord.
Oh,
When he left the office, I
Yeah.
grabbed his hand and kissed it. I was just like, man, what do I do? Paulo,
I
Lord
just want to
Paulo.
honor you, Paolo.
It was amazing.
So cool.
What?
That's distinctly cool.
That's wild.
I'm a but it's like the way he delivered it too. He literally was like, please don't, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm a
Lord of the Vatican.
I don't like to brag about it. That old thing.
And he
So
just started
funny, dude.
giggling because he realized how I get it. Like, that's a big deal.
Nothing I love more than a self-aware Lord. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, let's embark on our final destination in our Chunktober III series. And it's almost not, but we included it for two reasons. One, there's something fall about this movie, isn't there?
We called this creature features. There's definitely creatures in
Yeah, there's creatures in this movie. But there's something fall about this movie to me, in the same way that Harry Potter is very fall to me.
Also, I think with how much Diego Del Gorbo is a lord of the podcast, of our podcast, it's a wild that we haven't done one yet. And
Yeah.
what better time than the Halloween season?
Yeah.
And then even more importantly, if you haven't figured it out by now, we just figure out a way to talk about whatever movie we want to talk about, and we fit it into whatever
what we do.
series we're
That's very
interested
true.
in.
Yeah,
It's just
that's very
that's how it
true.
goes. It's our show, so
We talk
The man
about
behind
what
the curtain.
we want.
it's our show. So back off, okay?
It's our show.
It's our show. So we're going to round out this series with a movie that honestly I'm so stoked to talk about. So let's dive right into a movie known as Pan's Labyrinth. Doge had a coffee mouth. Doge had a
was a
coffee
big
mouth.
coffee
But that's
sip.
okay. Give me a synopsis with your coffee mouth.
This week's synopsis was written by cinema_fan.
Aren't we all?
Feels like that username had to be one of the first ones to claim on IMDb, right?
Big movie guy.
Ophelia's love of fairy tales is obvious from the beginning of El Labyrinto del Fauno. Set in the not-so-tranquil Spanish woodlands of World War II, where a small band of rebels are hiding out. This is where Ophelia and her pregnant mother have come to live, in the company of Capitan Vidal, Ophelia's new stepfather, and soon-to-be father of her half-brother. It is with the brutal, unforgiving, and totalitarian idealist Capitan Vidal and his Falangist troops, who must weed out these resistance fighters of the hills and woods, that Ophelia finds her release and distraction of the New World Order and its warring factions, and delves into the older, mysterious, and enchanting world of fairies, fauns, and giant frogs. Beautiful, charming, graphic, and deadly. El Labyrinto del Fauno.
If I told you without context, there is a really excellent movie set early days of World War II
Yeah.
in the Spanish countryside about a group of resistance fighters coming face to face and head to head
I love this.
with a fascist military captain. And also, there's a faun and a man with eyeballs
Also,
in the palms of his hand. There's a big old frog. And
Also
there's
in it,
fairies
a
that
big frog.
change from fairies to bugs and back again. And there's magic. You would be like, what are you supposed to be taking or not supposed to be taking that you did or did not take? This is such a wild idea, and it is so distinctly and deliciously Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
In anyone else's hands, this movie is nowhere near what it is. And I don't know, Doge, this was your first time watching it.
It was.
Was it anything like what you expected going in, is my question.
I tried to go in with very blank expectations. I absolutely adore Guillermo del Toro. More so as a creator, I think, than his actual works themselves.
Interesting.
I just have so much love for Guillermo del Toro. And I think a lot of that comes from actually his speech that he gave when he won
Yeah, it's beautiful.
the Oscar for Best Picture. It's one of the best acceptance speeches I've ever heard. I wrote down the quote on my phone. He held up a statue and he said, "To everyone that is dreaming of using fantasy to tell the stories about things that are real in the world today, you can do it. This is the door. Kick it open and come in." And his whole thing of just like, it's very C.S. Lewis, very Tolkien,
Yes.
that kind of mid-century kind of English view of like fairy stories are not just for kids.
Yeah.
Like anybody can relate to this stuff. And in fact, by hiding some of this stuff in a fairy story, you can sneak it past people who'd have their guard up. And if they watched a movie about resistance fighters and fascists and didn't have big frog, then they might be a little more close off to it. But I mean, I don't know. You made the mistake of pulling my string on my back. And so now I'm just going, but I absolutely was completely blown away by this movie. Yeah.
I need to make an official apology. We have said this is our first Diego Del Gorbo. It is not.
Yeah.
Pacific Rim
I thought about that the other day.
Oh, yeah.
is a Diego and might be where the name originated was during that episode. Might be.
No, it was
Maybe.
way
I think it was
before
long
that.
before
Yeah,
that.
Was it
way
really?
before
It was
that,
like one of our first mini Mondays because I was telling the story. I
'cause
mean,
it was called
maybe now's a good time to let you behind the curtain of why we don't ever call Guillermo del Toro his real name. I was telling a story, and this was probably 2018.
Oh, yeah.
I was at a party.
Okay.
And it was like spring, so he'd like just won the Oscar for Shape of Water.
Yeah.
And I was meeting people, and they're like, "What do you do?" I told them about my job. Told them I have a movie podcast. They're like, "Oh, you're a movie guy." I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "I love movies." I was like, "Sick, me too." And they're like, "Did you see Shape of Water?" I said, "Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Creature designs were awesome. I don't know that I would have picked it for Best Picture this year, but like the team behind it, they're great." And this guy I was talking to was like, "Yeah, dude, totally agree. I love Diego Del Gorbo." Completely serious. And so from that point on, he's only been Diego Del Gorbo to me.
Oh, Diego. So funny.
Del Gorbo. Before Pan's Labyrinth, there were two things that the general public would have known about that he did. Hellboy, which was done 2 years prior, and 2 years prior to that, which is now news to me on this day, he directed Blade 2.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Cool.
Wild.
I don't think I realized, obviously it was one search away, but I just don't think I realized contextually that Hellboy was prior to Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth feels in my brain like it was made in the 70s, not because it looks or feels like it, but because it seems like it's just been part of conversation forever.
Yeah.
And I think that is a testament to what this is, which is it's fun to watch a movie and discuss a movie that if anybody you ever talked to said it was in their top 5 of all time, you wouldn't even blink. If somebody said, top 5, I don't know, this, that, Pan's Labyrinth, and you'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I get it. 100%.
And it's fun to go into a discussion like that because when you see artistry on this level, there's something. Guillermo del Toro he's a beautiful, beautiful person. He has this sincerity. There's an earnestness to his creation that almost doesn't allow criticism. And I don't mean in a protected, guarded way. I mean in a way that is like, what are you going to say, dude?
Yeah.
He had an idea and said, I will make it manifest. I will create the idea before your very eyes. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think that we need more of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just got a keen awareness of how the darkness can illuminate. I don't know how else to describe it. It's
totally.
He's just got this, Tim Burton is like, let's use this canvas and just have fun. Let's see new things. Let's find quirky characters. Guillermo is kind of like, it still feels appropriate. We were talking about how much horror is teaching us, but it is appropriate for him. You think of Shape of Water too, but he is just using these dark, dark landscapes and not really pulling any punches for grotesque.
Yeah.
But I don't know, with the kind of things that he's able to create as both antagonist and protagonist, you start to appreciate the people that are navigating the story even more because you can look at what they've overcome and you're like, man, that was terrifying.
You have planted a thought in my brain that I've never had before. Tim Burton and Guillermo, they have a lot of similar, like their ethos is very similar as far as like the way they tell their stories. And I think it is because they stick with me here for this metaphor. I hope it doesn't only make sense to me. They both paint white on a black canvas. The stories they tell stand out because they're set to backdrops of a lot of darkness, but they typically are telling stories of hope. Both of them typically tell these little personal stories of hope within sort of like a dark backdrop. And I think that's why they have invaded. People don't like Tim Burton. They love Tim Burton.
Right.
People don't like Guillermo del Toro. They love Guillermo del Toro. And I think it's because they are painting with these extreme emotions on these extreme backdrops, and it creates very like visceral reactions to their movies in a really cool way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's fantastical. That's the difference between like them and a David Fincher.
Sure.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, that's just, you leave and you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
that's disgusting. Nobody wins, you know? But with these two, it is a little whimsy. And I think that helps too. It is such an interesting thing because it feels like it is like a children's story.
Yeah. Sure.
But it's rated R. I mean, it's like you would
never show it to a kid, like an
it's
actual
definitely rated
child.
R, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be rated R.
It is rated
It
R.
is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I have to just to go ahead and, well, no, I can wait till we get there. I'll just wait till we get there.
I can
No.
super pump. If we need somebody to super pump, I'm happy to follow in that sword.
I don't
for us.
need anything, Doge. Follow your heart, buddy.
My super pump is the script.
Okay.
Yeah.
In particular, the tone that it strikes, where it's like 100% like this, like the story of Ophelia and the Faun feels like a story that's existed for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And Del Toro wrote, produced, and directed this. So this is all
always has.
specifically from the brain of Diego. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, man. That is so impressive to me.
Yeah.
To be able to write that story that feels like it's existed forever, but also is completely inseparable from this real historical event that happened not 100 years ago. Man, it's just a absolute masterclass in aiming for a specific tone and vibe and hitting that tone and vibe and building a world around that tone and vibe and seamlessly integrating it with the real world. I don't know. I watched it 2 days ago. This is my first time to watch Pan's Labyrinth. And it still feels like I can't quite collect my thoughts around it because I was like completely blown away. Like absolutely. I know Carter said this last week about The Thing. I'm currently trying to figure out if Pan's Labyrinth is a top 5 of all time, a top 10 of all time for me. Like
awesome.
Completely. I don't know. I'm super pumping right now because I need more time to think about what my super dump is.
Just let us jog your memory and you'll be like, same.
So
I'm going to jump on with one of you guys probably.
my super pump was almost like basically exactly what you're saying, Doge, except the way that I was thinking about it is this movie feels like, and I love this. There's almost nothing that excites me more than when I watch a movie and I can feel like this afterwards. But this movie feels like I just have this image in my head of Guillermo del Toro pitching this and somebody saying, seems ambitious. And he's like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Just tell me if I can make it or not.
Yeah.
It just
like, I
feels
already-
like this called shot of confidence in his work.
Well, and like supreme ownership of his work.
Yeah,
I'm
that's true,
like,
too.
Did you see? So like for this, he translated all the English subtitles
Yeah, I did
himself.
see that, man.
He was like, I
So
don't want
cool.
anybody else. Like this is my baby.
that.
This is my thing. He left all of the notes for this movie that he'd been writing, accidentally left them in the back of a cab. And the cab driver like found them and returned him. And he was like, what a huge blessing. I thought this movie was lost. I thought this was going to be my greatest work and it was gone. So now I have to do it. So now like this is my baby, my only priority.
Yeah. Someone who takes things as signs, visceral signs, like believes in fate. I'm not surprised. It's perfect because you also see that in the way that he makes his movies.
Yeah.
It's so freaking good. And it's so interesting. I think, so Pan's Labyrinth is, sometimes the Academy can get things wrong, but I think this had 6 Oscar nominations. Yeah. And Diego Del Gorbo was not a huge deal yet. Remember, Blade 2, kind of a different director that's picking up a franchise that's cult classic-y.
Yeah.
And then he does like Rock'em Sock'em Satan. And
Right. Well, especially not in the States, he wasn't almost.
But it does feel like, I'm not saying that Hellboy walked so that Pan's Labyrinth can run.
I would unequivocally say that.
Yeah, somebody acknowledged, hey, it's because Jordan, you were talking about the pitch, right? Seems ambitious. It's like, but also my guy just interpreted a graphic novel in a pretty ambitious way that kind of took people by surprise.
Hey, Hellboy rules. I want to be clear. Yeah. The first Hellboy is awesome. Even the second one's not bad. Like, Hellboy rules. But I absolutely think it walked so that this movie could run. I have no problem.
Which is just fascinating for me.
I have no problem throwing my weight behind that line of thinking. I think that's a great call.
Yeah.
There is so much to love in Pan's Labyrinth, and I really am struggling with a super dump. Just to part the curtain, I don't know that I have anything I don't like about this movie.
Right.
And so I'm gonna kind of throw away a little fart, just a little poot of a super dump.
Go for it.
And it's just that the audience chamber of the king. The CG's not great.
CG isn't great. Yeah. Do you know why it's not great?
In a movie where everything else is gorgeous, that falls short. That's my super dump.
Yeah.
It is a disappointing final location. Tell me why.
It falls short because they had a smaller budget than they could have, because Del Toro repeatedly turned down Hollywood producers because they wanted to make it in English. And he's like, no, this is our story. We're making it in Spanish. And he even gave up literally his entire salary, even back end residuals from this movie, to finance this movie and fund this movie.
My gosh.
So I bet you feel stupid for saying that bad now, don't you?
No wonder he said no to The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's proud in all the best ways.
Yes. Wow. I think it's good pride, right? He knows exactly who he is and what he's worth. Yeah.
That's why I said all the right ways. Yeah. He understands. And that's the kind of person you want telling the stories that you go see.
Yes.
For sure.
Massive. My super dump is, you remember the scene? There's a scene where they look out and they see the explosions from the revolutionaries, and they show up and they're like, oh, they just wasted our stuff. They're just trying to get our attention. Then we see explosions again, and then we look up, and then it immediately just cuts to the rain, and we're in the middle of the fight.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that.
You know we got a banger on our hands, but our super dumps suck. Oh man. When we're all fighting for our ding dang lives to come up with a negative word about this movie, you know we are in for a treat. I don't know. I don't feel the need to apologize for this. It's Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
What'd you want me to say? Like, I actually didn't like the blah, blah. It's so good. What are you talking about?
It's unbelievable, man.
I'm trying not to get too hyped about it, but it's...
Yeah. I'd love to talk about...
Yes, please.
The acting.
Yeah. Can we start with Ophelia?
Ophelia? Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
She was so good.
What's going on? She was great.
Unbelievable.
Are you kidding
good.
She reminded me of... y'all still haven't seen Leon the Professional.
No, I've never seen it.
She reminded me of, kind of the first glimpse we had.
Like a young
Natalie.
Yeah.
Of just being like, how old are you?
Right.
Because
she was like, 11 in this.
Yeah.
Ophelia was.
Right. So it's like, how does our actress, and let's make sure and respectfully like say her name.
Oh yeah,
Her name is Ivana Baquero.
Ivana Baquero.
I always call people by their character names. I shouldn't do that.
I know. I forget. It's like, hey, you did good work.
Yeah, here's the credit.
That'd be like someone being like the one of the podcast hosts. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, that wouldn't bother me.
The Hunk. Yeah.
It's like for an 11-year-old, it's like, how did I find myself really empathetic for her? Because I'm like, you're either a great actor or you've actually felt these things at 11 before, and you could tap into a little history there. Because like when she is, I mean, her nonverbals the entire time are great. Mm-hmm. She's so attentive.
Yep.
She's so reactive. She's scared, and yet she's also like experiencing wonder. It needed this story needed to be told like from a kid, like to have her be the main role there, and just in this big, menacing kind of looking world. But she's just like, you know what? This is better than that officer that I'm supposed to call my dad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like measuring that against the other horrors, and she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
Incredible. But so is everyone.
So is everyone.
Right.
I would say the
Special
weakest
shout out
links-
to, I want to say a special shout out to Doug Jones.
Oh.
Who was in the creature suits, the only American on set, the only person on set who didn't speak Spanish. Del Toro's the only bilingual person on set. So when Doug Jones is playing Pan, he has to memorize he doesn't know what he's saying.
Yeah.
He memorizes the sound of his lines as Del Toro feeds them to him. And he memorizes Ivana, Ophelia's lines so that he knows when
how to
she's
respond.
done and he could say his next set of sounds that he doesn't know what they are. Unbelievable.
You know what's funny, though, is that this is probably largely responsible for Doug Jones and Guillermo del Toro being so close now, because I bet they
he's in
spent
everything
so
Del Toro
much
does.
time together on this set because Del
Hellboy
Jones had
too.
no
And
one
on
else to
Hellboy.
talk to. Right, but I'm saying
Yeah.
specifically here, I bet they were glued at the hip
Yeah.
because Doug Jones
Yeah.
is trying to do right by this film, and Guillermo is his only point of connection and correction. you know?
Yeah.
Also, Doug Jones clearly takes his job seriously. I mean, he does immerse himself in a Doug Jones kind of in a more prosthetic way, as what Andy Serkis does a lot of the time with motion capture.
Exactly.
Time.
But it's like he had to absolutely trust Del Toro early in his career,
Yeah.
because who knows what this guy could be feeding you, right?
When he
But
was coming
you gotta
hot
think
off
the moment.
the tale of Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, you've just got to believe that. And I'm sure, I have no doubt that you could feel his energy before you saw his face. Del Toro does feel like the kind of person that you just know. And he always just seems so excited. Him carrying the little Pinocchio stop motion figurine to the like premiere is like the cutest thing. Also,
Yeah.
we're thinking of you. Condolences. He lost his mom recently.
Oh,
and
no.
so it's like,
Oh, no.
it does feel like he also kind of carries a bit of this childish like whimsy. But yeah, Doug Jones, Maribel Verdú, who played Mercedes,
Yeah.
Sergey Lopez, who was Vidal. The Commander Vidal was
We'll talk about him after the break. That's a guarantee.
Wonderful.
yuck. And then Ariadna Gill was Carmen. Those were our big four, and they were all very good.
Well, clearly there's more to talk about, but before we get to any of that, we do need to go to shout announcements. See you there.
Here we are, Chunkies. We're jumping back into it like we did
Yeah.
last week.
Except this time I'm here.
Except this time, it's thrice as good. I'm going to say that you hold the hopes of two people.
It goes exponential. I guess.
It goes exponential to this extent. We're going to take this time for shout announcements. While Jordan goes, I think there was some kind of like a cat in a tree. I can't remember exactly.
It's like an old lady needed to cross the street.
Yeah.
I kept talking about Henry would never do this, so I've got to step up. It was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't trust Henry in these situations. What you can trust is our Patreon. We have a $3 tier that's going to have a fresh for you for the tail end of our spooky season here, on the other end of our spooky season. If you ever have that, like, man, I wish I could be terrified somewhere between Halloween and Thanksgiving, we've got a Patreon episode of
Got you.
Barbarian for you that you should give a watch with the lights on, maybe.
Yeah.
So $3 gets you that and lots of other content. It's not like you just get the access of what comes out post your $3 tier. You inherit the entire library. So there'll be a lot of episodes there. And then even more importantly, which actually you should go out and actually vote, because I do believe that tomorrow is when the polls end. Is November? No, today. It's November 8th.
Yeah. It's November 8th.
Go
today.
vote.
Yeah.
You get an extra vote with Patreon on the $3 tier. On the $5 tier, you get into that Discord that we've talked about. Talked a little bit about it yesterday with our Bob Ballers. It's a wonderful community that I am loving looking at the updates every day. That's that $5 tier. So give us a little bit of that extra boost and come hang out.
Come hang out with us next week on the main feed of the pod, when we will be talking about a little independent feature. It's a low budget thriller, and it's called Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I don't know if you guys have even heard about this coming out. It's pretty insider. A lot of movie biz people are real stoked about it. So I really think it's going to be a breakthrough hit for general audiences. But
I'm just trusting y'all's opinion. I hadn't really heard of it, but I'm just trusting what y'all have to say.
Well, you hate Panthers. I know like how much you hate cats. You're a dog guy, but just trust me on this one. I think it's going to be cool. So we're going to be watching Wakanda Forever, and we're going to be talking about it right here on Two Chunks and a Hunk next Tuesday.
Right here on this here pod. And there's a lot of stuff to be excited about to wrap up our year. We are going to go back in a creative way to the Christmas season, which is always a fun and tends to be pretty pivotal on the timeline of Two Chunks events, just some time to share together. And so be on the lookout for that. And so in the excitement of all this, if you want somebody to jump on board, maybe you feel like you've got some recency bias and you're like, man, I love Chunktober. I feel like Henry would enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Like, let the people know. Let them know about our podcast. Go rate and review. We're doing well, but we could always do better. I mean, we want to have more people a part of this community.
Ain't that it? Ain't that life in 2022?
That's just life in 2022. Doing well, could do better. Could do better. But I was going to say something about the second half of our podcast being better, but I can't guarantee that. The first half was great.
We'll see. We'll try to do a good job. I think we can guarantee that.
Let's just give that a shot.
Okay, time to finally start being positive about this movie. I'm going to super pump. I'm doing it.
Oh.
I'm doing it.
You liked something here?
I did, finally.
Weird.
It feels like a cop-out, but it's real. It's The Creatures.
Yeah, unbelievably good.
Are you kidding me? Iconic.
Unbelievably good.
In a movie that, honestly, is barely about the creatures at all.
Yeah.
They're the thing that sticks out. They're the thing that sticks with you.
I think it's because it's the best like physical special effects work that I think I've ever seen.
It's unbelievable.
Like I think the Fawn is the best animatronic latex suit man that I've ever seen in anything.
This movie holds up some 15, 16 years later because by and large they chose to go practical.
There's got to be a better term than holds up for this. It's like
excels.
Because it's not like it's barely,
This movie is gorgeous 15, 16 years later.
So this was 2006.
Yeah.
I was a junior in high school. And this was the first movie I saw by myself.
Oh, wow.
I was just interested. I thought Hellboy was fun. And it just looked like my vibe.
Sure.
I've always loved that darker.
16-year-old Carter, was it his vibe? 17-year-old Carter.
It was.
Yeah.
And I remember, and this is leading up to my super pump.
Beautiful.
She draws that door with the chalk and opens it up. And I think the way that they had advertised for Pan's Labyrinth, which by the way, it didn't have a ton of hype.
Yeah.
As it was coming out. And so I think if the Pale Man was ever shown, it wasn't in full form.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I remember him grabbing those eyeballs and putting them in his hands and then seeing that those are actually nostrils on his head. And now we have the full terror of the Pale Man, which was slow. It was a slow burn, slowly teased. Because you know he's going to wake up.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're looking at, our ceiling that's kind of painting the history here of this, at one time larger because he was eating kids on the daily.
Mm-hmm.
But now that skin has stretched out because it's been a while and we haunchy. But I remember I almost stood up. I couldn't believe, and I'm seeing this on the big screen, and I'm just like, what is this? I was in awe and disturbed. So when you see the thing, the head drip off and it becomes a bug, it's kind of like your friend sneezing and it's a booger you've never seen. And you're like, oh my God,
gross.
Bro, it's so freaking big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's bright green. What is happening? Everybody's running around like, oh my God, oh. But this is like, I lifted up a rock and there is an insect I've never seen in my life that I am certain will kill me and I'm not going to forget about it for the rest of my life.
Right.
I've seen it once and I'm just like, I can't do this. But it was perfect. I'm in awe, right? It's like, what is this thing that you've created? I could not believe it. The hanging skin.
Yeah.
The tiny, tiny legs.
Yeah.
They're barely going to get you coming out of the hole. Like that whole scene and the pale man in that creature bucket, like was my super.
Yeah, for sure.
Unbelievable. Shout out again, Doug Jones.
Yeah.
Like the way that he's choosing to place those hands and then like move them. Oh my goodness gracious.
Guillermo del Toro has to walk around with this in his brain all the time. He has to walk around with these things.
I was going to say something so similar.
Rattling in his brain.
He's just got monsters, man. It's like, yeah, but what if? Because it becomes even more intimidating because he's literally in such an easy, practical way making the creature so much bigger and menacing because you just put hands up.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like also an homage to like playing with a child.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like peekaboo.
Of just being like,
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I read, or I think Callie read to me. Maybe it's somewhere on IMDb or something. We finished this movie. It was Callie's first watch, and she immediately was like, "That is one of the best movies I've ever seen."
Cool.
And so she got really into she devoured every bit of IMDb trivia, all this stuff, and something she read to me that I loved so much. And it's so Guillermo del Toro to have this mindset and this passion for just a character in a movie. But he was saying that, or what she was reading to me was saying that many people view Ophelia's decision to eat the grapes as just the stupidity of a child, just the, too dumb to live, that trope. But that Ophelia's defining characteristic is brave disobedience.
Yeah.
And that's also the defining characteristic of these guerrilla freedom fighters who are fighting against a fascist regime. The theme of the movie is courageous disobedience. And when it's all tied together like that, that's such a pretty bow for me. It fits straight in the box.
I feel like it might resonate even extra because I think Ophelia might be an Enneagram 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is. I love that. I love that nugget.
There's something to that.
Yeah. It's almost like with Ophelia, you're like, I want to see.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Sorry, fairies. Red and blue fairies.
Rip.
I'm sorry about that.
The worst part
Literal
about the movie,
rip.
the scariest part about the movie is that in her vivid imagination, she's just hanging out with these nasty bugs, these disgusting bugs, these grasshopper stick bug demons that she hangs out with. Oh, no.
Yeah, mention them
you.
big old roly polies.
But the thing, the man,
The Mondo roly poly. Oh my
that's
goodness. It's like the size of a cell phone.
Can you call it a roly poly anymore? At that point, it feels disrespectful to call something that large roly poly.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure.
It's a roller boulder.
A roller boulder, certainly. That's it. Lock it up. Send it home.
Cool. You ready to rate it?
The power that Ophelia is rebelling against most frequently is that of, I'm going to say, top 3 movie villain.
Wow.
Ooh.
He's awful.
Ooh.
Most certainly.
You're talking about Vidal, right?
One of the most hateable individuals in
Horrible.
any film. He stands with the likes of Hannibal Lecter. He stands with the likes of Commodus. He stands with the likes of Rachel McAdams from Mean Girl. Help me out.
Regina George.
Yes, Regina George.
Regina
Like
George.
he is an all-time great, iconic movie villain who I do not think about enough. I don't give him the credit he deserves, but this man is...
Immediately from the second he's on screen, the first thing we see him do is like squeeze Ophelia's hand really hard because she tried to shake his hand with her left hand. It's like, okay.
Isn't his first comment that they're late?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And his expecting wife had to puke because of pregnancy. Yeah. And he's like, I can't believe they're not here on time.
Ugh.
But yeah, very first glimpse that we get. And this, man, and then we kind of start to transform him into a monster.
Yep.
When Mercedes.
With the half of a Glasgow smile.
Ooh, by the way,
Yep.
Worst thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
Drinking that whiskey.
The cut
immediately.
The cut in his cheek and the hand cut on the revolutionary that has the stutter. Hand.
That was so hard.
That hand cut and that mouth cut are some of the worst wounds I've ever seen in a movie. That is so much worse to me than like a ripped off arm or something. Just seeing that made me cringe.
Yeah. Ulcers make me want to not go to work. Mouth ulcers.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Like I bit my cheek last week and it's the thing where like it swelled up a little bit. So then I just kept biting it. I would like be chewing gum or like talking and then just bite the crap out of my cheek.
Stop it.
Every time the weather changes.
And so like I've suffered in the same way that Vidal has suffered. So like I get it.
Every time the
You do
weather
get it.
changes, my cuticles get dry and I end up with a hangnail. I have to moisturize very intentionally. And sometimes those hangnails, you pull them and they do that thing where they go back and pull the skin.
Wanna go on?
Yeah, and it feels like you could just unravel like yarn if you keep pulling it.
Yep.
And yeah. And
You got one.
that's the worst pain I've ever experienced.
You guys know about the cuticle repair cream? Comes in like the teal.
Go on.
It's like a brush. It's like legit. I'll send you the Amazon link. It's
You talking about brand nudicle?
I don't know what it's called.
Did you make that up?
Because that's incredibly powerful.
Hey, bleep that, and let's go to something.
Yeah, I'm going to bleep it.
Let's go to something.
I'm going to bleep it because I'm going to steal the secret formula.
Yeah.
I know the 11 herbs and spices that they use to make this cuticle cream, but I'm going to send it to you guys because it's literally an overnight thing. Like it's like a little brush. You paint it on. Yep. Overnight thing. Constant rotation for me.
I just watched us, the three of us, age 10 years in the mind of every listener. I just watched it happen.
But also I like TikTok.
Right up there with.
Wow. Pop a couple
Can I
words
super dump?
originals. Yeah, go ahead. Don't ask if you're not ready.
I think for
Were you
me,
talking out loud?
I think for me, some of the outside shots looked a little underexposed. But that's just
I don't think
me.
she's pretty. Her elbows are too pointy. I mean, what do you say? Look, okay. I don't feel the need to justify our opinions very frequently, but I'm getting out ahead of this one. If you are a longtime listener and you've heard us poo-poo over recent Marvel outings, you've heard us poo-poo over the DCEU, you've heard us poo-poo over franchise fatigue, whatever. And you're sitting here going, why are they being so nice to this movie? It's because you haven't watched it. It's because you haven't watched it.
This imaginary person you've invented, that's such a bad faith argument. I would be so upset if somebody was like, so you didn't like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but you like Pan's Labyrinth? Huh, idiot. Are you kidding me?
Interesting. You know what's fun too is it's fun to think of if this is anyone has ever heard of like Two Chunks. It's just this episode.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we didn't just get together because we agree all the time.
Right.
There's definitely you're gonna have your good moments too, to where we're on opposite ends. But I think you just got lucky because all three of your hosts have good taste.
Bingo. Stick with us, kid.
I'm thinking about like the design, and let's talk about. So we won 3 Oscars here.
Thank goodness.
Makeup, which includes everything.
Yeah, that's
like it's
a
not
no-brainer.
just like, wow, excellent eyeliner on
Mercedes had some great blush. That's going to be an Oscar win.
And then I'll mention lipstick, and then that's all we know about
That's all the
makeup.
makeup I know, yeah.
That's all we know.
I know that mascara smells terrible.
They used to make it from guano. I don't know if they do anymore.
Ew. Best achievement in makeup. Best achievement in art direction.
Good.
I mean, I love the giant cogs of the wheel that looks like Vidal's office is inside a giant watch.
Inside his dad's clock.
Even the vial of antibiotico is just like so pretty and fun. Best achievement in cinematography.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice. It was nominated for 6. So it was nominated for best writing, original screenplay. So he makes Hellboy, and 2 years later gets nominated for best original screenplay. I'll look at it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Best achievement in music written for motion pictures, which we haven't talked about much. But it has such a haunting, beautiful theme that
I don't think it does stick as much if Mercedes doesn't sing it twice.
Doesn't have that. Yeah.
I'm going to do the research. Y'all keep talking. But the other Oscar nomination that it did not win was Best Foreign Language Film.
What?
Yeah. The Lives of Others, which is a German film, won Best Foreign Language. I'm looking on it
Guess
right now.
I have to watch that movie, because if it beat this...
Gustavo Santaolalla won for Babel for Best Original Score. Pan's Labyrinth lost for that.
I love Gustavo Santaolalla. So
I do too.
I'll take that.
What was the other one that didn't win?
Screenplay.
Screenplay.
Oh, is it The Departed?
The Departed, yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Because it's a... Best Adapted or Best Original?
Original.
Oh, Best Original was Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
Because Departed was Best Adapted. Because
People loved little Abby Breslin.
Abby Breslin. And her famous brother, the elf from Santa Claus 2, whose name I can't remember. Curtis.
Curtis. His name is Curtis in Santa Claus 2, but his name is Spencer
Breslin in real life, but his name's Curtis in Santa Claus 2.
Their brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the talent went to one. All the talent went to one.
But I will say it is a true underrated talent to look that much like a Spencer. Spencer Breslin is the most Spencer-looking guy.
Dang, that is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
You feel like he probably owns
I disagree.
Kind of adulty gift shop.
No, I feel like after Spencer Breslin, it's like... No, he looks like Spencer to me. It's like Spencer's retired. You can't...
No more Spencers.
Nobody can be 23 in basketball anymore. Let's hang the name Spencer from the rafters because he did it. That's Spencer.
See, I don't know. He looks more like a Curtis to me because I think there's something about his glasses, haircut, and the way he dresses in Santa Claus 2 that makes me think he just looks like that all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he wasn't in maybe his ears really are that pointy.
Is he in Pan's Labyrinth? Look, there is so much worth talking about with this movie. It is, I don't know. It's something else. It really is like
very sad.
It is very sad.
It is very sad.
And before we get to rating, can we have a lightning round of things we might have missed that are worth talking about so that we can knock them out?
Sure.
And one for me is the melancholy tone of this movie is like my crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, frog inside, come outside. That was a big deal.
Frog deflate. Yuck.
That's bad.
Bottle butt, kill face.
Yuck.
Bottle butt,
bad.
kill face is tough.
The world,
it's really tough.
The world of the fairy tale is so big and dark and dangerous in a way that is not often depicted in the post-Disney fairy tale boom. But I think that's what makes it feel like old and deep and like you can smell the fairy tale, right?
Here's what's fun about this to me. I mean, I don't, you tell me, I don't feel like it's really up for interpretation that what she was seeing was the imagination of a young girl. I think that's pretty clear that it's the imagination of a young girl, but it's presented in this way that is so fantastical that at least for me, I don't care that it's her imagination. It doesn't feel like you wasted my time with fakeness. This is her coping mechanism. This is her escape from the world that she lives in. And this scary fairy tale world is less scary than the real world outside to her. But it's interesting to me, and I have to believe it's intentional. And it's probably the result of a young girl exposed to too much evil in the world at such a young age. The fawn is dripping with like malice to me. There's something so even his assertion at the end that, oh, you passed the actual test, which was to be a good person, feels so deceptive and wrong, which is characterized. It's a characterization of fawns in mythology.
I mean, that's a fawn, right? Yeah.
But
but I think that's a reflection of the fact that every adult in her life, like besides Mercedes, like Mercedes is the only person she can actually trust. She feels like her mom has betrayed her though because she's married the captain.
Yeah, but she's
like,
in love with her mother. Like she's so in love with her mother.
But what I'm saying is there is that distance, and so she doesn't have, besides Mercedes, an adult figure that she can trust completely. So of course she's going to manufacture this fawn.
Yeah.
That she can't trust completely.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's like not all fairy tales are created equal. Sometimes it can be just as meaningful and as an escape if we're only using the tools that we have, the raw material that we have. And what Ophelia has at times is more terrifying than her imagination. I was more scared for her near Vidal than I was the Pale Man.
Near the fawn.
You know, and so it's
That's
that balance too is the thing that
the other impressive
just
feat
blows me
of
away.
the movie, right? Is that Vidal, a person written to be human, is scarier than this mythological world full of evil and monsters.
Yeah.
Like that is, I have to imagine, the entire purpose behind setting this real historical event on this fictional backdrop is to illustrate how much worse this was. And
I think it goes back to like Del Gorbo's speech when he won his Oscar of like, this is for, he views his purpose as a storyteller. He held up his Oscar and he said, this is for anyone who wishes to use fantasy as a lens to tell stories about the real world. And I think we see Ophelia do that in this movie. She's using her fantasy to cope with the horrors of the real world. Del Toro himself is a layer above that, saying this is a fantasy story that I'm telling you about. The scariest person in this is Vidal, is this person who does not respect the autonomy of anyone except himself.
brilliant.
And lastly, I think we'd be remiss not to just circle back to the coldest line in cinema history.
Dude.
Oh my gosh. I stood up off the couch.
He deserved it. He had it coming.
Cut him off. My
And she just says,
Cut him off. Bro.
No.
not even going to know who you
He
are.
won't even know your name. Oh my God. Ooh.
That is she Dikembe Mutombo'd him. She said, no.
Yeah.
No. You're done. You're out of here. Ooh.
Yeah.
Mercedes is cold. That was brutal. I love it.
I loved it.
She's a savage. Man. It's brilliant. It's so good.
Truly.
It is time to rate this movie. Even though I feel like I could talk for another hour about it. It is time.
And here's the deal. I don't even think you need to say the scale. Say the scale because you want to, not because we need the refresher on our options, because I think I know what we're all going to say.
Do it because it feels right, not because it is right. That's the opposite of how you should probably do most things.
Yeah.
That's okay. Whatever. We're going to rate this film using science, the scientific cinema scale to be exact, and it is perfect. And as follows, the best thing we could ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. The next best thing is buy it. It's going to be followed by rent it, and then stream it. After that is forget it, and last but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us.
I'll go first. Poster, obviously. Like this belongs to me in my personal collection right next to something like E.T., where it's like, wow, when I watch this, I'm 7 years old. I'm the same age as Elliot. I'm the same age as Ophelia. Sure. And this just works completely. And it's powerful and emotional and the most creative thing I've ever seen in my life. Easy poster.
I'm so thrilled to be here for your first watch of this. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I am going to buy the poster, and not just because the poster is gorgeous.
Yeah, the poster's
and
amazing.
I would happily hang it in my home. No, I'm buying the poster because this movie is, I don't think it's crazy to say that this movie is like a benchmark in filmmaking, that this is iconic, borderline perfect. And I adore this movie. And I crave movies that believe in themselves this much.
Yeah.
Para mí, compra ese cartel. Buy the poster. I mean, it's...
I didn't know what you said, but I knew what you said. Do you know what I mean?
How fun that...
I know.
Like, I'm a letter away from being...
Poster.
Yeah.
Spanish for poster. So...
That's crazy, man.
Not a lot of people can say that.
Almost nobody. Nobody else on this show. I'll say that.
The Carters of the world, the Cartons of the world, the Cartups of the world, they can all say it.
Yeah.
Carter, did you think this would be the outcome before anybody watched this? Did you think this would be the outcome? 3 posters?
Yeah.
I did too.
I think so, because I think it can be argued maybe easily. Shape of Water is wonderful. Yeah. But I think I'm not putting up a fight if you say this is the best thing that he has ever done.
I wouldn't argue that at all. I would say that this is for sure his opus. This is the thing he has done, and everything else is flowing from that same creativity, but this is inspired in a different way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Del Gorbo to come. I mean, he's got his Pinocchio that is out right now.
Which looks incredible.
He has 7
I don't think it's out yet.
That he's,
I don't think his Pinocchio is out yet, is it?
The Disney
out now.
Pinocchio, which has gotten terrible reviews. Shocker!
Sorry. That's not out yet. But in terms of if we just want to look ahead really quick, directing and writing.
Have y'all watched any of Cabinet of Curiosities?
That's coming up very soon for me.
It's good.
I've heard good things.
It's good. I mean, it's not him. He's EPing it and then he intros every episode.
Sure.
But the actual stuff isn't him, but it's good.
Yeah, he's got a documentary that's in production, Michael Mann documentary, but in development, movie called Saturn and the End of Days. We've talked about this before. Drude, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is very exciting. A movie simply called Monster, a movie called Zenbato, and then a movie called A Fantastic Voyage.
Hey, sign me up for all of the above.
Adventure sci-fi. We're going to see Diego dip into the sci-fi side a little bit here. Sometime soon.
That's kind of Hellboy a little bit too, in a fun way.
It's kind of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, Monster is a TV series. I think the rest are movies.
Fine by me. I'm down. Give
Cool.
me all the Diego you can give me.
Cool.
Wow.
I imagine that you guys already filled them in during shout announcements on what's coming next.
Yeah, you're watching Gigli
did.
by yourself, and you're gonna write a quiz for us.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Do you want to actually clue them into what's next since it's the end of the episode?
Why don't you clue them into what's next,
Well,
and we'll see if we're all on the same page, because we already told them in shout announcements.
It's good that you're doubling back on something that I was trying to get you to do, because I am clearly not remembering what's next. So that's why I tried to throw it to you, Doge. Come on.
Wakanda Forever.
Oh, well,
Wakanda Forever, kids.
It's Wakanda Forever.
Oh, is that already next?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Ooh, raise your hand if you're nervous. Jordan is. We'll see ya next week for Wakanda Forever. And don't forget to check out Patreon. We will have a special bonus app coming your way.
Barbarian episode for you.
We're recording that right after this, so expect this same energy. We'll see you next time. And for 2 Chunks and a Hunk, my name is Jordan Wonders. And here's what I'm going to need, because I should have said this before I said that part.
That's a weird order to go in.
Really
but that's
threw
fine.
me off. Really threw me off at the end there. I'm going to need everybody's name. That's the first thing I'm going to need. And then I'm going to need...
That's our first task.
What movie with some sort of creature in it would have been made better if Guillermo del Toro had been in charge of creature design?
Okay.
And don't say all of them.
Okay. Can we take The Hobbit off the table?
Yeah, let's
too?
take The Hobbit off the table. That feels like too easy.
Shouldn't be too
Although
hard, probably about 45
the
pounds.
concept art for
Oh
his
my
Hobbit
gosh.
was insanity. And I do feel that we were robbed of something brilliant.
Completely robbed.
Wow.
I know my answer.
Do you already? Okay. You know what? I think I have mine too.
Go.
For 2 Chunks and a Hunk, I'm Jordan. I think that he should have been consulted on Star Wars creature design for
Ooh.
the sequel trilogy. I think that we would have had some incredible and terrifying creatures to be afraid of to fear lurking in water and around corners if he had been in charge of it. And I think that is a missed opportunity to not have him involved in some way.
My name is Dosh, and I do love the monster design in this movie. But I wish that Cloverfield could have had Del Gorbo there to just sprinkle some extra sauce on it and really kick it up a notch so that it's something we could not imagine.
That's great. I've got two answers. One is silly. The one that's not is the Demigorgons were done pretty well, but I think seeing the rest of the Upside Down would have been fun to have some Del Gorbo influence.
Yes.
Number two, I'm Carter. And he has a pretty popular show on Netflix that he's produced called Troll Hunters. Mm-hmm. And so he's obviously with the childlike wonder. I'd love for him to have a dip in the 90s when I grew up and have a lot of more influence on the design of the street sharks. If you would, sir.
Street sharks.
Get your Thanksgiving meal for less at Meijer with Meijer Grade A frozen turkey for 55 cents per pound, limit 2. And shop our everyday low prices across the store on items like King's Hawaiian Rolls, Meijer frozen steamable sweet corn, and Meijer cream of mushroom soup. And get the same low Meijer prices no matter how you shop, in-store or online. Plus, get free delivery with your $25 purchase of Meijer, True Goodness, Fredericks by Meijer, or Purple Cow food products. Get your Thanksgiving meal for less at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
Hey there, BreezeLine has a holiday gift just for you. 1 month of free internet for all your family's gift sites, book flights, and movie nights. Get reliable, fast internet with speeds starting at 100 megabits per second for just $19.99 a month. Plus, free Wi-Fi your way home for the first 12 months. And your first month is free. BreezeLine wishes you all a happy and bright holiday season. If only they could give you a little holiday relief from all the matching family outfits. Service subject to availability. New residential customers in select areas only. Visit breezeline.com for complete offer details.